Good morning, everybody. All right. Thank you for joining me here in the 4th floor and the basement of the Convention Center. Congratulations for everyone for making it here. Thank you for joining us. This is Mac Admin App's Greatest Hits Volume 1. Before we get into some of the introductions, I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of background about why we are doing this session, kind of the motivation behind it. This is probably my 3rd in-person JNUC. I did it virtual once too, but it's my 3rd one, and JNUC's definitely I think my favorite conference that I'm fortunate enough to go to. Being a Mac admin and specifically a Jamf admin, there's all types of sessions that are available here that are super interesting, and usually they're all at different types of skill levels, whether it's like a 100, 200, 300, so on and so forth. That's pretty much all the numbers I know. But they're all kind of all over the place in terms of difficulty, and when we're making our schedules, like, it can be a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot going on at JNUC, and it's all super enjoyable. But with this session, I really kind of wanted to have it be a little bit more relaxed, have it be a little bit more of a show and tell, talk about a whole bunch of different applications, a few of them a little bit more in depth than others, and then we're also going to cover just a whole bunch in kind of like a smorgasbord rapid fire type thing. We don't have like a hard set script or anything that we're following. This is very much like we're all in the room together, we're exploring these cool apps, and then hopefully, if there's one that resonates with you, like, definitely jot it down, whisper it to your friend, like, please, I encourage that. There's such a wealth of information among everybody here in this room. You would definitely be at a loss if you didn't take a moment to speak to your neighbor and see what they're taking away. When we get to Q&A too, obviously, if you have any questions, please ask them. But this is very much like show and tell. So if there's a cool app that you really, really are passionate about and think that everyone would benefit from knowing, please raise your hand, let us know what it is, give us like a brief little spiel about it. I'd love to hear about it. And with that, we'll get right over into introductions. So my name is Glenn Eulendorf. I am a senior IT manager at Consortium. We are a cybersecurity reseller. We call ourselves Next Gen VAR, and I'm joined by 2 awesome people today. Tommy.
I'm Tommy Patzius, a systems engineer for True Manufacturing, former Apple employee.
And I'm Jordi. I work at Lab9 Pro in Belgium. We're an Apple partner and Jamf lead partner as well.
Awesome. That's our crew today. Thank you guys for agreeing to come up here and go on this wild journey with me and all of us. So we're going to be doing, like I said, there's going to be 3 deep dives. We're going to do Jamf Helper Constructor, Self-Service Plus, IBM Data Shift, and then we're going to go through a whole bunch of rapid fire applications in different categories, starting with Apple apps, Jamf tools, maintenance, setup and customization, notification and support, and inspection tools. So we're going to try to pull a little bit from everywhere, and hopefully you guys walk away with something valuable. So let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about Jamf Helper Constructor. So I have been now a Mac admin at Consortium for about 4 years. Consortium is an all-remote cybersecurity company. We have now about 100 or so employees. But when I first started, I worked in private education, and I worked managing Macs there, and then I went to Consortium and started working there, and we only really had about 20 endpoints at the time. And we had to stand up Jamf Pro and kind of get it all started. And at the time, managed software updates was not really a thing in Jamf like it is today. Like I mentioned, we had a smaller org, only about maybe 20 to 30 or so max. And I was looking for a way to kind of politely encourage people to get their updates done. Being fully remote, I am based right outside of Philadelphia, but I have members of my team all the way out in Arkansas, California, Florida. We were scattered all over the place. So I really didn't want to rule with an iron fist when it came in terms of updates, because I wanted to kind of encourage people and work with them to explain the process of why it's important and help them get it done. And when I had a small team like that, it was easier to kind of massage that message and get them on board. So I was looking for a tool that would kind of help me do that, something that would encourage them to do it themselves, and also something that was easy and kept it nice and straightforward. So I started to look around, and one thing that I noticed or came across was this application called Jamf Helper Constructor. And for those of you who are, obviously, everybody here is familiar with Jamf, Jamf Helper is the dialog box that pops up and gives you like a little bit of notifications. And you can go through and you can fully customize it, and you can kind of use it to do your bidding. And one really neat and helpful application that does that is Jamf Helper Constructor. It's a pretty easy to use graphical user interface. It uses the built-in Jamf Helper, so there's really nothing that you need to install other than the application itself to be able to help you customize what these boxes look like. As I mentioned, it's customizable and it's very simple, or you can make it very detailed. So however like much you want to dive into it, you can start with something basic and then you can work yourself up to something more complicated. To give you a little bit of a preview of what it looks like here, it offers a couple different notifications. It's got like a window option, which they call heads-up display. It has almost like an inverted option over there called the utility notification, and then there's a full screen one. When I was using this to kind of help people out with notifications, I was more in the camp of either the heads-up or the utility. Didn't really want to mess with the full screen. It felt like a little bit too much, and if users aren't ready for it, it can be a little bit jarring to all of a sudden have this big message pop up, takes up your whole screen, and you're kind of like, what's going on? So I went with one of the other twos. So a real world example of kind of like what it looks like right now. This is Jamf Helper Constructor, and as you can see, you have some spaces here where you can customize these dialog boxes. You can set a title, you can do a heading, there's a spot for a description, and over on the right hand side there is what this dialog box, when created, actually looks like in real life. And then it spits out this command over here down at the bottom that you can either run a preview for so you can see what it looks like, and then once you've got it all set up, after you've set up your timeout, whatever button dismissal you want, I use a smiley face, and it gives you a command that you can take and put into Jamf. So, speaking of getting this into Jamf, how are we going to do it? There's a bunch of different ways that you can leverage Jamf Helper Constructor and Jamf Helper with your Jamf instance, but the way that I chose to do it was just as simple as possible, because my goal was to make sure that I could send out a message to people to politely encourage them and bother them on a not too regular basis to get their update taken care of. So what I did was I went through, I created a policy, I called it Jamf Helper Software Update, and I took that command, dropped it right in under Files and Processes under where it says Execute Command, and then you scope it appropriately to whichever group you're going to need. So for me, I made a smart group. I said, all right, anybody who's under a specified version of Mac OS, these are the people who I'm going to specify that need a software update. I take that smart group, I drop it into my policy, and then, sure enough, they get hit with a notification that says, hey, time to update your Mac, and I make this policy run once a day. Nice little notification. I stamp it with our official logo so people know what it is. I give them the help desk email in case they have questions, and I also prompt them anytime we're going to do an update beforehand. I send like a giant message in Slack. I send an email out to people to be like, hey, just so you know, our update's coming out. This is why we're doing it. Here's a link to some of the Apple support documents on it. Let me know if you have questions, and get ready for my fun notification. And that's what it looks like. So some things to keep in mind while you're doing this: make sure that you test it. Remember that, like, even though it can be helpful to send these notifications, it can also be overwhelming, especially if you're using the Jamf managed software updates. You know, they're getting a notification there. They might be getting a notification from something like this. Then maybe they're getting an email. They're getting a message. So, like, you know, I try to send out like one shock and awe message in the beginning, and then I kind of pull back from it as I watch people hopefully adopt everything. And be careful with the full screen, because it can kind of be scary and overwhelming. And of course, if you are interested, you can definitely go further with this via scripting as well. So a bunch of really cool stuff. Now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tommy here to talk about Self-Service Plus.
Alrighty, Self-Service Plus. So what I really enjoy about self-service is that it becomes the visibility piece for the end users. Everyone knows that they have a managed Mac, but a lot of times Jamf feels invisible. So with Self-Service Plus, which replaced the classic self-service, it's really kind of a one-stop shop for many things I'm about to get into. So If you ever want to install updates, you can use this for patch management. You can make these available either through Jamf's app installers, or you can use Installomator. There's many tools you can use to get your apps visible here. But what's nice is that you could tell your end users or even your IT team, just open up self-service, and that's where you can go and find your apps to either install, update, reinstall, whatever you need to do. It's also really great for if you're ever not in sync with your passwords. So if you're using an identity provider and you want to make your local macOS keychain in sync, you can certainly do so, and it makes it a lot easier than having to remember multiple passwords. Bookmarks are really useful because a lot of times there's resources you might need to get to. Sometimes the end users forget with the URL. You can say open up self-service. We put all these bookmarks here. Makes it really easy to get to what you need to get to. And you can also push configuration for profiles as well. One of the cool features of Self-Service Plus is that if your end users are not local admins, and a lot of times they might need to make changes to settings or install an app or whatever that would require elevated privileges, they can temporarily request these privileges, and that way they don't have to worry about bugging you. They can just do it themselves. And if you're using Jamf Protect, you can also view the security status. So there's just a lot of great visibility pieces with Self-Service Plus. So with deployment, there's a couple options. If you're not quite ready to get rid of Self-Service Classic, you can make it available through a policy. But if you go into Jamf and you just check mark to enable it as the default application, then it will replace Classic. But a couple options for you. And as I mentioned with visibility, a lot of times end users will say, is this legit? Of whatever might pop up on their Mac. And what's really nice about being able to change the app icon, or even just give a photo that just tells, yes, this is legit, this is us, it's not some third party, you can trust it. So I really enjoy the branding piece of it. And that in a nutshell is Self-Service Plus.
Cool.
Hand it over to Jordy.
Yeah, thank you. So my topic is about IBM Data Shift. If you are an organization that allows user migrations with your managed devices, you might have run into issues where, especially if you use account provisioning tools like Jamf Connect or Xcreds, that replaces the user folder and you're kind of stuck. The people at IBM built a tool specifically to do user-to-user migrations on managed devices, and it's purpose-built for Jamf as well. It kind of looks like Apple's migration assistant, so it's very easy to use. It works over Wi-Fi and USB-C. And it's friendly to Jamf Connect and Xcreds, which is important. So once you get started, you need to install the application on both devices, of course. They need to open it on both devices as well, and they need to pair the device to each other. Works with a pairing code, very easy to use. Then you can select which data that you want to migrate. By default, you get two options. You have the basic migration and the complete migration. We don't use the basic one ourselves because it only migrates the desktop and documents folder, which we have other tools for, but the complete migration or the advanced selection has some more wiggle room with that. Like you can see here, it can migrate apps, but we encourage our users to use self-service for that. It also can migrate bits and pieces of the library folder, more specifically the preferences folder and the application support folder, where your preferences are. And when you start a migration, you will get a pop-up indicating that you shouldn't be touching the devices when it's running. If you safely ignore that, you can see the data arrive on the system, right? So it will do a copy and actually place the files in the right place of the new user folder and give it the right permissions as well. Once the migration is complete, you get a nice completion screen. You have an option to log in with your Apple account. You don't have to do that. You have a mandatory reboot, so your device will restart, and then it will submit its inventory to Jamf once more. Then you're done, right? So this is very easy for the end user. It's very user-friendly. For IT, it does need a little bit work to get started, so you need to compile this yourself in Xcode. That's also the place where you can customize and brand this to your own liking. And then afterwards, you need to sign and notarize it yourself. If that does sound daunting to you, IBM did a very great job at documenting every single step that you should take with that. So even if you've never touched Xcode before, you should be good to go. There's a complementary config profile that allows you to put in some settings, and a PPPC profile as well to grant full disk access to the software. If you want more information on this, I would highly suggest watching the JNUX session of IBM last year, where they went more in depth on this, and it works very well. They did announce that they would make a pre-compiled version of this as well. That hasn't come into fruition yet, but the repo on GitHub gets updated quite a lot, so they're actively developing still. And that were 3 deep dive topics, right? So now we're going to move over to the rapid fire. The first category that we will hit is Apple apps, and with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Tommy.
So one of my favorite Apple apps is Apple Business Manager. It's a one-stop shop also for grabbing apps. So if you ever need to deploy your applications, you can set up where you are using the volume purchasing program. So if you don't use managed Apple accounts or you don't really plan to, your end users don't have to worry about signing in with an Apple ID to download applications. You can make them available by scoping them out in Jamf, but grabbing them from Apple Business Manager. It's also really great for if you have devices that you need to have automated device enrollment. If you set up purchasing partnerships, anything that you order from them then automatically goes into your environment and gets assigned to Jamf, which is really useful for having a device that's supervised as well as managed. Activation lock, every once in a while you get a device that will come back and it's got Find My on it. You can just go into Apple Business Manager and remove it. Another tool is Apple Configurator, so kind of goes in hand. If you need to add devices into Apple Business Manager, if you get a device that was maybe purchased outside of one of your purchase partners, you can use Configurator to get it in. Also, it's great for if you ever need to create a configuration profile or a blueprint, you can make it, download it, or upload it up to Jamf and fire it away. And one of the other tools I really enjoy is Global Service Exchange, or GSX. So you can integrate this with Jamf, which is really great for if you ever want to find out a little bit more about your devices. So if you have a serial number, you can get really in-depth information about the warranty, when it was purchased, where it was purchased, as well as more hardware specs than you would get from a more like public-facing tool, which I'm also bringing up, which is check coverage, which you can use if you just want to get quick information based off a serial number, just to see when a device was purchased and if it's still in warranty.
Thank you. Up next is going to be the macOS Accessibility Assistant. I almost thought after we put this on here that I was like, I kind of want to do this for the deep dive, but it ended up in here, and that's fine. It's still super cool. I feel like a lot of us are using either like automated device enrollment, pre-stage, and all that fun type of stuff. And a lot of times I feel like we're so focused on trying to make that experience as smooth as possible for the user. We skip over a lot of different panes. I don't know how many of us skip like accessibility by chance, but we might by accident perhaps. Or maybe it comes up once and the user kind of just glosses over it. They go through it and then they're like, all right, well, what else is available to me? The macOS Accessibility Assistant is available. It's in the Shortcuts application, and it offers user-driven customization based on all different categories of accessibility. It does vision, it does hearing, it does mobility, it does cognitive accessibility. There's all types of different stuff in there. And what's cool is not only will it go through and offer all the different choices to you, it'll explain them, it offers them in like a notes section, and it shows to the user how they can turn it on and customize it just for them. You can get to it through the shortcuts, or you can do it even through a control center or in the menu bar if you have it set up. It's a really cool, like, helpful little thing. All right, up next we're going to jump into some tools for Jamf Pro.
So Jamf Composer, this is very useful. A lot of times you might come across an application that you need to deploy, but it's a disk image, which is very difficult. So if you don't feel like scripting it out, or if you just want to add pre and post install scripts, or whatever you need to do to get it down to a package, you can take an application, drag it over to Composer, and build it out. It's an incredibly useful tool.
Okay, next up is PPPC utility. Stands for Privacy Preference Payload Utility. That's a whole mouthful. It allows you to easily create those profiles, right? So you can just drag in an app and then select its entitlements and have an easy upload to Jamf. But if you so desire, you can save them locally, you can sign the profiles, or if you're very classic, you can just copy out the top part and paste it into Jamf yourself. Another Jamf tool that we use quite often is Jamf Compliance Editor. Now, if your organization has to adhere to a certain security benchmark, you've probably heard of the macOS Security Compliance Project before. That's another mouthful. This tool is like a layer on top of that that gives you a nice UI so you can create and customize your guidance. Once you're done that, you can easily upload to Jamf as well. You can save it locally, of course. You have those guidance documents, so the PDF, the Excel, etc., for your audit teams. It's pretty great. And the first steps of integrating this in the Jamf Pro UI are being taken right now, right? So you have that nice compliance tab in Jamf Pro now. As of yesterday, you could only select CIS level 1 and 2, but since this morning I got an email that it was updated and now also includes the NIST guidelines, so you can apply those very easily, so you no longer have much need for this tool in favor of the compliance tab in Jamf Pro. Next up is Jamf Check. It's a tool that we as a Jamf partner use quite a lot. It's built by Tesk Safler from the Jamf Cred Labs team in Amsterdam. It allows you to run some easy checks on your Jamf products. So it supports the 3 MDMs, Jamf Now, Jamf Pro, and Jamf School. You can see which version of the binary is running, which version of self-service is installed, etc. It also integrates with Jamf Connect, so you can easily see if the launch daemon is loaded, if the login window is enabled, if the password is in sync. And it also integrates with Jamf Protect, so you can see if everything is fine and dandy there, but also trigger detection, so you can actually test your remediation workflows with that app. And then the last app in this category would be Jamf Replicator. Is something, again, we as a partner use quite a lot, so we have our golden master, whatever tenant sitting there, and we can use Jamf Replicator to copy over to new tenants of customers to get them up and running quickly. This can be interesting for end users as well, right? Because you could use this to replicate between your testing and production environments. You can do full or selective replications. You could export locally, so you can save your configurations locally. You could use this to delete things as well, but there are better apps for that. And if there would be any other Jamf partners in here that want to use this to provision new Jamf instances, please don't. There's a better way. It's called Terraform. And there are a couple of great sessions about that here at JNUC, so you should attend those because that's an easier way to do multi-tenant spin-ups. So the next category is maintenance, and I'm going to hand it back to Tommy. Oops.
Skipped one. So Installomator is a really great maintenance tool. So it's a massive script, and you can use it for patch management, which is based off of smart groups. So if you have devices, or if you have apps that are either missing or out of date, you can use Installomator to target those. And the list of apps that are available is ever growing. So if there's a public installer available, it's probably in Installomator, or it can be added. It's community driven. It's a really great, useful tool for patch management and more.
You can keep the clicker. Next one is App AutoPatch. It's actually a tool built on top of Installomator. So this will scan your app library. It will match your apps to Installomator labels, and then use Installomator to check if updates are available for those applications. And then you can decide to either run silently and just install the updates, or you can run it completely interactively like shown on the screen. It's a very powerful tool. It's very customizable as well. You can set deadlines and whatnot. So it's a very catch-all approach to app patching at that.
Code Runner. So this one I could talk all day about, but it's really useful for if you're doing any sort of scripting. So if you need to create a shell script, edit a shell script, or just go in and download anything and pull it up into Code Runner, you certainly can. The other thing I always use it for is if there's any sort of configuration profiles, if you ever need to design one, edit something in the field, you certainly could do so. But it's just it'll run any programming language. So it's a very, very powerful tool that I use daily.
Thank you. Up next is Mist, which is the macOS installer super tool. Basically what this does is it's available in both the command line as well as a GUI. It also just got updated as of like maybe a day or so ago, so it supports macOS Tahoe now. But basically it gives you a big list of all the available macOS firmwares and installers in order for you to download. It does offer the ability for you to upload them right into Jamf Pro as well. You can make a bootable installer. You can use the normal releases. You can use public betas. You can do customer betas. If you're in the right groups, you can do the dev betas too. So it's a super helpful tool if you want to go through, grab those installers, or create some bootable installers. Up next here is SOFA. It's the simple organized feed for Apple software updates. It's an open source project, and it basically takes any information that you would ever want to know about software updates and makes it available here through a super easy to use website. It's got all the recent macOS information, iOS, version numbers, build identifiers. It talks about Xprotect, all the different security features, the CVEs for each release. You can integrate it into Jamf Pro as well and tie it into cool scripts and do all types of really neat things with it. If you haven't checked out SOFA, definitely set aside some time to go through it because there's a lot that you can do with it. It's a really powerful tool resource. Bless you. Then we also have Superman, which is the software update policy enforcement with recursive messaging and notification. It's basically another way for you to be able to schedule software updates and enforcement on your Mac. It is customizable. It can do major, minor updates. It can also do applications. And there is a presentation for Superman at JNUC. I'm not sure if it happened already. If it has, then today at 4:15. So if you're interested in yet another way to keep your Mac updated, check it out, see how it works. It might be good for you. Speaking of updates, I promise I'll get to one that's not updates. There's also the erase and install script. This one's a little bit of a classic, but still works really well. You can go through and you can just automate the whole erase and install procedure. It also, of course, does updates. That's just the name of it. But it works as a script. You don't have to push a package out. And it also keeps the users informed of what's going on. It can also work silently without any user interaction if you customize it a little bit. So this is just another one of the update tools at your potential disposal. And then we also have the DFU Blaster. Back when I worked in education, we had to do a lot of hands-on imaging and restoring, and DFU Blaster definitely would have came in handy. If you have to do some DFU restores of Macs, you can use DFU Blaster in conjunction with a hub, and you don't have to worry about holding down any special keys, working any magic with timing or anything. You just open up DFU Blaster, turn it on, plug your stuff in, and you're just good to go. So it's a super helpful tool. I'll pass it over to Jordy.
Yep, thank you. Next one and the last one in this category is iMazing's profile editor. It's one that I use quite daily, almost. It allows you to create and edit configuration profiles, right? So it supports all the Apple payloads, which is handy, but it also supports third-party payloads. If you start scrolling in that list of payloads, you will see Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Defender, whatnot. Almost every app or tool that we talk about today that has a preference file that you can edit, it's probably in there. You can sign the profiles, you can import existing ones to edit them as well, and since a recent update, you can also export the payload as a plist or a script to give you some more wiggle room. So the next category is setup and customization. The first two are mine, so I'm going to continue. First one is Jamf Setup Manager. I think everyone heard about Jamf Setup Manager already. If you haven't, it's a tool built by the amazing consulting engineering team at Jamf, and it puts the app installation at a more logical place during your enrollment process, right, which is during the setup assistant. So when you run through the setup assistant, this will pull up a window and do the actual app installation. It has a very nice UI. It's very clear to the end user. It's fully customizable, so you can change the logos, the text, the app icons. It's localized as well, which is especially important in Europe. We have many languages. You can do that. It works with both Jamf School and Jamf Pro. And for Jamf School specifically, there is a built-in version of Installomator, which is very handy there, so you can just call those labels. There are various deployment workflows that work with this. We usually set it up as a zero-touch enrollment flow because that's what our customers want, but it does support single-touch enrollment flows as well. So if you have those VIP users, for example, your CEO, you don't want to hand the laptop over and say good luck, you can do some single-touch provisioning there as well. Now here you think, doesn't Jamf have a built-in version of this? And you would be right. In Jamf Pro, there's the macOS onboarding, which allows you to run policies, install App Store apps, and install configuration profiles the first time that self-service opens after enrollment. Now, this runs in the user space, which is sometimes somewhat annoying, and it's also easily dismissible. You can click past it and just lose track of it. We actually use it in conjunction with Jamf Setup Manager a lot, where we let Jamf Setup Manager do the heavy lifting, so the app installations, and then use macOS onboarding to do things like setting the dock, setting the wallpaper, something like that. And since I said dock, I'm going to hand this back to Tommy. You can go.
So dockutil is really useful if you are wanting to put applications in the dock or make sure that the end users can see them. You can use dockutil. It's a very simple command line tool. It'll work with if you have folders as well as applications, and it works with a script. And very similarly is desktoppr, also a very simple command line tool. So you can set the wallpaper or desktop picture or whatever Apple or you want to call it. And then same thing I mentioned earlier about elevating privileges. So every once in a while, if you have end users that are not local admins, they'll want to elevate the privileges. They need to make changes to the settings or anything that is useful for that time being. SAP Privileges allows you to do so. You can run it from the dock. You can run it from the menu bar. It's just a simple little tool to request elevated privileges for your end users. In the final category, it looks like we have notification and support. Here you are, Glenn.
Awesome, thank you. Up first is going to be the support app. I use this application and I love it. You can see an example of it up here over in the top right. It uses a little like medicine bag icon. When it runs, you can customize it, but I use the medicine bag because I think I need help. So that I think of the support app. You can fully customize it with your company logo. You can set it so that you can set some basic. You can see some basic information about the Mac at a glance. Things like last reboot, how much storage space you're using, current OS. If there's an update for it, the OS section will actually put a little badge letting you know that there's an update. You can click on it. It'll bring you right over into software updates, which is super helpful. And it's also, like I said, it's fully customizable. At the bottom there, you can customize it anyway, but at the bottom, I use it to like push like a few different links out to all of our employees. So I use it as a quick way to be able to like book an appointment with me if you need help. I link it to our help desk, and then I also have another one that goes right into our internal intranet, because those are some like links that people I feel like are always asking me like, where is this? And giving them a button to just be able to click on it and get there and kind of let them jump right into it. It's super helpful. Next, I don't know why I didn't put this with the updates, but it's over here, and that's okay. There's Nudge. This kind of harkens back to how I'm using Jamf Helper. I also experimented with Nudge. It allows you to nudge the users to let them know that there's an update available. It supports all types of different languages. It has all types of different deferral options, and it integrates with SOFA. There's a lot of customization with it, which could either be a blessing and a curse. So when you're setting it up, it's important that you take your time, you do your testing, and get feedback, because depending on how you set it up, it might go off when you expect it. It might go off when you don't expect it. And however it displays those notifications can be like really convenient and small, or it can be kind of scary because it might do the full screen one, and like, you know, it's kind of frightening for a user if they don't know what's coming. Frightening for an admin too sometimes too, I won't lie. And then over here too is Swift Dialog. Swift Dialog is somewhat like Jamf Helper in the fact that it allows us to push custom messages out. It also takes user input if you want to be able to tie it to some other actions. And it also works with both images and videos. So if you want to push some like richer content out to people, Swift Dialog might be something that's worth taking a peek at. Now we're going to jump over into inspection tools. I'll give it to Jordy.
Yep, thank you. So inspection tools, as a Jamf partner, we use this a lot to see what our customer did and if they made a mistake or not. The first tool that we used for that is LowProfile. It's an app that if you install it on a Mac and you open it, you will see every installed configuration profile and be able to inspect the configuration payloads, right? Just like with iMazing, it supports both the Apple payloads and third-party ones, so that's very easy. And you can also use it to just import one specific profile and take a look at what's that. Another great one is Apparency. This is an inspection tool to see details of an app, so you can throw in whatever .app file that you have and see info about identifiers, versions, gatekeeper status, notarization, inspect the signatures, and also browse it and its entitlements. From the same app developer, Mother's Ruin Software, is Suspicious Package, and this one we use on a daily basis, I guess. It allows you to check and inspect package info. So you can see what it installs and where. You can see the pre and post install scripts. You can inspect the signature and authorization info. So if you build a package with Composer, for example, and it doesn't run, you could use this and see if there's any mistake in there. And that were all our rapid fire apps. So I'm going to hand this back to Glenn for the sign off.
Thank you. All right, guys, that is all of our applications and our deep dives today. As I mentioned, of course, if you have any questions, definitely try our best to entertain them and to the best of our ability. Or if you have some applications that you want to share, we'd love to hear from you as well. So thank you all again for coming to check out our session. And hopefully there's something here that you were able to take away. I see we have at least one question, so that's a good sign.
See.
We're grabbing the mic.
Here it comes.
I'm going to be running here.
You got it.
Yeah, raise your hand and I can hand over the mic. First question.
Do you know how the SAP Privileges tool integrates with Jamf Connect?
You want to take that one?
No.
Because I talked about the SAP privileges.
Yeah.
There we go.
So you don't have to use the privilege elevation stuff from Jamf Connect. That's optional. So if you push out SAP Privileges, you can use that for the privilege elevation. You could put it in Jamf Connect as well. You shouldn't use both. So if you are happy with the menu bar app of Jamf Connect, use that, especially if you use it for the account provisioning stuff. If you wouldn't have Jamf Connect or don't have the license, SAP Privileges would be the tool that allows you to do very much the same for free.
A couple things. One, great list. A couple things to add to the list. Set up your Mac is another good onboarding option. And also with the Self-Service Plus app, if you are going to be testing it, just know that notifications don't work if you have the Classic installed as well as the Self-Service Plus.
That is a good point.
As well as currently only the icon branding is working and not the renaming. So if you've renamed your self-service to something else like we have, it's not quite there yet in production.
It does need some more love.
Yeah. Oh, and Jamf CPR is also a good one too for copying between repositories.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, renaming self-service, I feel like seems really cool, but then
Yeah.
I feel like I'd catch myself constantly saying self-service, and then
Yeah, I always say self-service, and they got the little icon, the branding.
Two additional apps that you might want to look at is Apple's Mac evaluation utility.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
It's a great one. If you are deploying configuration profiles, it'll help you identify conflicts, which can be detrimental to your environment if you have those. And another one, it's a classic one, it's still around, it gets updated all the time, Mac Tracker.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. That's a
good
great one.
There was a time I had that on my phone.
Yeah,
every day.
the old app, you can pull up and see what everything is.
So one thing to note about the Self-Service Plus and renaming the app, I think there was a mention in a session yesterday that there's some difficulties there because I think there's some additional tools that are getting hidden away in that package now, so may want to steer clear of renaming Self-Service Plus.
Good point.
Making you run all over today.
Hi, when using the IBM data migration for the user files, can that be done between major OS versions, or are there things you have to watch out for when you do that?
So we've done migrations between, for example, it runs from macOS Monterey and up, and we haven't had any issues with that because it just does a copy and puts the correct permissions on the files. So you shouldn't be having any issues with that. Should work.
It's like a fancy rsync, right?
Yeah. With a lot more checks, but yeah.
There. That's good.
One of the things for me is I build a lot of documentation, so I need a tool that runs on the computer. I'm not a big fan of anything running on the browser or that's dependent on the browser. And one tool that I use that runs locally, I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm going to spell it out for everyone, is folge.me. So that is a local running tool that does screenshots, does documentation for you. It also allows you to export it as any file type, even JSON or HTML, and then you can upload it to anywhere that you want as well.
Awesome.
Cool. Cool.
Thank you. Yeah, that macOS security compliance project, I think that you were talking about, like that has an awesome feature for documentation as well. Once you go through and you set all your guidelines, it gives you just like a giant customizable PDF of all your stuff. So the documentation is super helpful when you have an easy way to get it.
One of the things you mentioned in Self-Service Plus was connecting out-of-sync passwords. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm using Kerberos SSO, and if you are using so if you're using your identity provider, you can sync your passwords. We've also got SSO set up in our Jamf environment, and we're talking over to Microsoft Entra ID. So if the Entra ID password changes and then the Mac is not in sync with the local keychain, you can sync with Kerberos to have the passwords in sync. It's just a great way that if someone is stuck out of their Mac, or better yet, if they are trying to juggle two passwords, they don't have to worry about it. So one of the things I noticed though is if our end users are not on-prem, they have to be on the VPN for Kerberos to work. But it's a nice way to keep one password synced across the board. Yes. So we will.
So there is, hold on, drum
There it
roll.
is.
There is, you can scan the QR code. There's also there's the tech article that goes up on Jamf
Yeah,
today.
that's probably being published right now. So there will be an article with all of these apps listed.
And you can also find, I think, probably all of us on Mac Admin's Slack as well.
Yeah. So
Jordy, yes.
I wrote a list on the Tech Talk blog post on Jamf, and I think Dr. K, Emily, has also on her GitHub page like a very extensive list of apps. They're kind of scattered all over the place. If you scan that QR code, it will show you all the apps that we showed today with some information about it and the link to the GitHub repos as well.
Any more questions? Should we give these guys a round of applause?
Thank you.